Welcome everyone to Zoom into Books this evening. We have award-winning author and speaker Kraig Kann. He is a excuse me, former lead anchor and studio host for NBC Sports Golf Channel. He then progressed to Chief Communications Officer for the LPGA, and today is a requested speaker, branding consultant, presentation coach, and successful entrepreneur. He's mastered his own brand and is empowering others to do the same through his new book, Can You Get Our Attention? The book has hit the Amazon top 100 bestseller list several times. It's on there today. And today is also the first day of the Masters, so we have a lot to discuss. So I want to welcome Kraig Kann. And Kraig, if you'd like to give people some of your background and inspiration for your book, please go right ahead.
Well, I'm going to start with a big thank you to you because you helped me more than you would ever know. And I don't think the book hits the top 100, let alone top 50, top 30 as it's done over the last couple of months without your inspiration and guidance to me. I've told so many people, Kathy, about how much you've helped me and what I learned in the process of how to actually put something together from the time you start to think about, could I possibly write a book, to actually sitting there typing and organizing your thoughts and all of that sort of stuff. And I probably bombarded you more than most for how to get it done and how to hit a time goal and all those different things. But it was something that challenged me big time. And as I wrote about in the book, when I was a young kid, I always dreamed about potentially writing one. I used to go to the library quite a bit as a kid growing up in Chicago, and a young kid, before I even hit 10, I'd check out 3-4 books and I'd read them all within a couple of weeks. You had to return them a couple of weeks later. I grew up in a suburb called Western Springs in the west suburbs of Chicago. And I always thought, you know what, I love these books. I might like to write one someday, but I had no idea what I could possibly write about or whether anybody would care about anything that I had to say. And of course, when you're that age, you don't know what you're going to do or what you're going to be. But the only thing that I would know for sure at that age is that I wanted to be a sportscaster. And that was my dream. That was my goal. I was 7 or 8 and I got a microphone and a tape recorder from my mom and my dad for a Christmas present. And I spent a lot of time in my room broadcasting games, whether it be the White Sox, the Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, whatever. I was also the kid under my sheets that my mom would have to say, time to go to bed, because I'd be listening to the games on the radio, listening to other sportscasters and how they did it, how they called the games. So from that age, I knew that's what I wanted to be. And then my career, as I talk a lot about in the book, had some pivots. Ultimately, I did reach a network level at Golf Channel as one of the original hosts in 1995 when we launched. And I spent 17 and a half years there hosting events, including the Masters many times, from the Golf Channel studios and from the sites around the world. And then I ended up as the Chief Communications Officer at the LPGA for five plus years. And it was a great opportunity and one that I didn't think I could pass up. So I wrote about that in the book as well, as to how you would leave a dream career that you chased for all those years to go do something that you truly didn't know if you could really do and what impact you could make. And I was very fortunate, very blessed for both of those opportunities. And lo and behold, now I run my own business and I travel the country doing speaking engagements, workshops, dealing with corporations and helping people learn to tell their story and build their brand and create better awareness for who they are and what they're all about. So it's been a treat. I wish I was traveling more right now, but as you know, you wouldn't have Zoom into books if we were in the same situation we were a year ago.
That's right. This last year has been hard on everybody.
Yeah.
And I think we've all changed our business models, and it's brought out a lot of creativity in a lot of authors too. Kraig's book has been out since December, and as I said, it's hit the top 100 seller list on Amazon. And have you been doing any virtual events?
I have been actually. That's one of the great things, you know, ever since the book was announced and you and I collaborated on that, and we announced when we were going to launch it and bring it out there. I started using it as a tool and a gift and an opportunity for people to, you know, not only have me speak like I have been for quite some time, the last 4 or 5 years full time, but this book is actually become something that can help other people as a takeaway. You know, I mean, I'm super proud to be able to sign it and give it to people when they're there in person. Or what I've found to be real interesting is companies will talk to me and they'll say, hey, you know, if we get 20 of these and we ship them to you for the people in your workshop, will you sign them? And I'm like, absolutely, I'll do that. And I actually, for one company, had 50 of them shipped to my house straight from Amazon and signed them all and then shipped them back to them. And that was actually in Canada. So, you know, it's not that easy, but it's really flattering and humbling that people want to take part and be a part in growing the awareness of the book. And hopefully, as I say to people, pull some nuggets out that they can use as they help build their own brand and learn to create awareness for themselves. And as the book title is, get people's attention. And that's what it's really all about. You know, I talk a lot in my talks about this society that we live in that's full of so much distraction. And our job is really to find a way to get people to stop and focus and pay attention. And then the question becomes, how do we do that? And there are various opportunities, communication being one, which is really what my background is all about, is communicating. But it's also through social media platforms and strategic branding exercises and skills and strategies. It's through media interviews, it's through media relations, and all these things are chapters in the book through my experience of 25 plus years in television, and then the chief communications officer role, and now traveling, speaking, and my podcast and my radio show on Sirius XM. So I feel like I've got enough platforms out there that suggest that I can help people, which is the whole goal, to find a way to present themselves in the best possible way. And I think that's what it's all about.
That's such a thing that so many business people need, particularly since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost a lot of businesses, and some other businesses have popped up and created by the pandemic. So I know that you do workshops,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of the best times to get a book from Kraig, because everybody is rebuilding right now. We're starting to open up. We're going to have our first in-person event at the end of October. And I think the country is more than ready with the vaccine now that things are going to open up. So hopefully you'll be doing some workshops and conferences so people can come and meet you in person.
Well, that would be the goal. I'm all up for airfare and hotel rooms. That's been a big part of my life for my entire career, whether I was traveling here in the United States or, you know, Canada. I've been to Asia multiple times with my LPGA travels, and I'm all up for travel. I look forward to going to some of those shows and being able to bring the book to people. You know, you mentioned something interesting there about how companies have changed, and I have found, and I've talked to some CEOs and some people that are highly placed executives over the last few months, last year, specifically about what they're looking to try to do and how they're trying to rebound and what strategies they're putting into place and what their biggest concerns or pain points are. And a lot of them come back to the same thing, which is about morale, culture, communication, collaboration. You know, everybody's siloed right now, Kathy. And, you know, I'm sitting here in my office in my house, you're in yours, and people are looking at walls, you know, and they're looking out windows, and they wonder whether they're going to have a job in 6 months, or whether their company is going to be around, or are they going to be downsized or furloughed, or what's going to happen. And so I think it's important more so than ever to find a way to expand your toolbox, sharpen your skills a little bit, and find the best way to present you. Because at the end of the day, companies or you know, executives or whomever it might be, they buy people first and they buy products second. And so learning to present the best of yourself is really important. And because so many people are out there saying that they can do this and they can do that, and here's what my skill set is, and this is what I'm good at, we have to find a way to stand out. And that's what this book is all about: standing out through storytelling, standing out through building your brand, standing out through creating awareness for the products that you sell. All those things are really important. And that's what I talk about a lot in the book. Some people don't have the confidence to be able to do it, Kathy. They don't think highly enough of themselves or their story. And so I felt like in all the conversation that I had about the book, that if I'm going to coach people on the importance and the value of storytelling, then I better be able to share my own. So weaved in the book is my career story, my career path, my journey, both personally and professionally. And I'm pretty transparent about it. And I think it really helps people to understand that nothing always goes the way you think it's going to go. You think your career path is a straight line, and it's not. It's got pivots. It's got times that you might be pushed into a zone of uncomfort, and that's okay. That's okay, because we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We need to find a way to, put ourselves out there when we don't feel that we're 100% sure that we're ready. And I give people real life examples and skill strategies that they can put into place real quick in reading this book.
Actually, that's exactly how we started Zoom into Books.
Yeah.
The pandemic hit and Amazon stopped ordering. And a lot of us small publishers, we had big problems. All of our events were canceled and no online orders. We came up with Zoom into Books, and none of us were proficient at Zoom.
Yeah.
Much less heard of Zoom.
Right.
And we launched on April 1st. So we're celebrating our first year anniversary now. And we really did it by the seat of our pants, totally out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And those first few weeks were kind of rough, but now we've done over 200 Zoom in Books. So it's like Kraig says, you just got to jump in and do get out of your comfort zone. So you have such a wide and varied background. I know since the Masters started today that we'd like to hear some of your golf experiences. And you were part of the first team when the Golf Channel started.
Yeah, I was. So I went to the University of Missouri, graduated back in 1988. So there you go. You can do the math and figure out what my age bracket is and all of that, that I have an AARP magazine sitting over here to my right. But, it's okay. And so I went to the University of Missouri. My first job was in Columbus, Georgia. And then I went to Fort Myers, Florida, the Fort Myers, Naples area, then Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo. And in a couple of those stops, all of them actually, there were PGA Tour events or PGA Tour Champions events. And so I was very fortunate. I had the opportunity to cover golf at a pretty high level and do stories for the local news and report and get my face and my name out there and show that I could interview people and all of that. So I was in Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo in the early 90s, and I got this phone call from my agent who said, you're not going to believe this. I don't know if you're interested or not, but there's going to be this new golf channel, and it's going to be started by Arnold Palmer and a guy by the name of Joe Gibbs. And not the football coach, Joe Gibbs, or the NASCAR guy, Joe Gibbs, that people think of, but an entrepreneur, and they've partnered together, and it's going to be based in Orlando. Would you be interested? I said, absolutely, I would. And so they sent my tape, and as one of the influencers that I wrote about in my book, Michael Whalen, he says that he sifted through 1,000+ tapes and found something in me that I thought I had the potential to be able to do. And he really gave me the confidence that I could be a part of something special. They flew me down first class, Kathy. They flew me back coach, which always makes me laugh. I tell that story. And yet they gave me 24 hours to make a decision. That's all they gave me. They offered me the job of being a beat reporter on the PGA Tour and anchoring this show called Golf Central. And so I was one of the original 6 studio hosts for the Golf Channel back in 1995. They launched in January 17th. So pretty close to the exact time that this book came out, which is kind of cool as well. But, I was so fortunate to be able to do that and to be able to get that opportunity and to move and raise my family in Orlando. And I obviously Tiger Woods jumped onto the scene on the professional circuit in 1996, and I was there for that press conference where he said "Hello World." And I was there at the Masters in 1997 when he won in a landslide. It was a huge victory for a 21-year-old kid, and everybody was amazed. And this is just a phenomenon. And the way it works is if you win the Masters, there's 3 cameras set up inside the Augusta National locker room. And you get one-on-ones with the winner. And so it's Golf Channel, it's ESPN, and at the time I think it was CNN, and they might have added another one, you know, in the time since I've done this stuff. But I was the guy, and I got to interview Tiger when he won in 1997, and I'll always remember that. It was a super special opportunity, and I covered Tiger for a number of years. I was there when he won the U.S. Open in 2008 on a broken leg. Rightly or wrongly, I was there in 2009 at Thanksgiving when he crashed his car into the fire hydrant and started the whole story of the Tiger Woods we didn't know about. And then I've been there for the rebuild of the brand as well. And now I work on Sirius XM, and I've been there for the most recent situation that happened with him in the car crash in California. So I've been there for a lot of things. I've been very fortunate. Arnold Palmer, I got to fly in an airplane with him up to Conyers, Georgia, where he opened up a golf course, and flew back with him as well. And my cameraman, Al Pollock, and I were sitting in the plane when we landed in Orlando, got to the airport, and pulled into his private hangar with that umbrella, that iconic symbol on the floor. I said, "Mr. Palmer, thank you for a wonderful day. It's just been a pleasure." I mean, to think of flying in his plane with him up there was just outrageous, right? So we did this story, and he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Going home, sir. Thanks for a great day." He said, "The hell you are." I said, "What?" I said, "What are we doing?" He said, "We're going to have a beer." And he went and pulled this cooler out from inside of his airplane, and we sat in his hangar for about an hour, him telling stories and us just sitting there having a beer. I mean, you know, those things just don't happen for people. I've interviewed 5 presidents of the United States. I've been to the White House twice. All these things I talk about in the book as part of my personal journey, but I'm just so fortunate. So when the Masters rolls around, it kind of takes me back to my beginning and being able to be there in 1995 as one of the first 2 people that ever covered the Masters for the Golf Channel. It was special.
That's fantastic. We have some photos I'd like for you to talk about. We're going to get those up, and they cover some of the things you've just talked about. The Arnold Palmer story, I just think, is amazing.
Well, there's the first time I was ever at the Masters. That's 1995, the year Ben Crenshaw won the Masters, and so I was there for that. And probably it looks like I had a few pounds more on me back then, and definitely a different haircut. But that's a picture of me and Mr. Palmer at Bay Hill in Orlando back in the day. And I will say this about him, you know, just like that story I just told about, you know, being in his airplane. When you were around Arnold Palmer, he made you feel like the most important person in the room. You know, when he signs an autograph, you can read it. He treats people or treated people the right way, and just made you feel special. You know, for him to walk over and take that picture, I don't even remember who took it, to be perfectly honest. But I cherish that photo, and he means a lot to me. I mean, he's one of the influencers that I talk about in my book, and I think it's really important for people to figure out who has influenced them in their career and in their life along the way. It's an important part of the journey. So that's a special photo for me.
That's great. I noticed that Arnold Palmer is often photographed with a pink shirt.
He wore pink shirts every now and again, for sure, and in the springtime as well. These photos here are pretty cool. That one in the upper left is actually, and you can see Mr. Palmer sitting at the desk. That's the original studio set. The gentleman to his right, kind of leaning in there with the dark suit, is Mike Whalen, who I talk about in my book as the influencer. He's the executive producer that hired all the talent and created all the shows. And then just between the 2 of them, the gentleman standing there is Joe Gibbs, the founder of the Golf Channel. And that's that's the studio team that first night that we launched in January of 1995. A couple of those other pictures there, that's I can tell you that picture in the upper right is actually Grand Blanc, Michigan. And that's me with Brandel Chambly, who's now really the face of not only the Golf Channel as an analyst, but one of the best analysts, in my opinion, in all of sports, and a friend of mine and somebody that I spent quite a bit of time traveling with. The picture down below is the studio show that we all started together, the Sprint pregame show and postgame show. You know, I was once offered the opportunity. I did play-by-play for 3 years, and they asked me if I wanted to do it full time and do 30 events. And I said, wow, what will I do on the other weeks that I'm not traveling? They said, you'll host in the studio that weekend. And I thought, okay, that's 50 weekends away from my family. And I really struggled with that. And I talk about that in the book. You know, family life balance is a big part of things in all of our journeys. In the end, I took a pass on that opportunity. If I'm honest, I've looked back and questioned whether that was the right thing or the wrong thing. But at the time, it was the right thing. And that studio show there, I was able to be the founding host of that with Mark Lai there in the middle and Brandel over there on the right. And just, man, so many great memories from my Golf Channel days. No doubt. I'm not sitting here if not for that opportunity. Yeah, there's Mr. Palmer and Mr. Gibbs. You know, that's the original press conference, actually, from the opening of the Golf Channel. I don't remember where they did that press conference. It was probably at Bay Hill for all I remember, but that's Mr. Gibbs and Mr. Palmer there. And then down below, that's me and Brandel Chambly and Frank Nobilo at one of the biggest events in all of golf at the Players. And then up there, me by myself sitting on the set in New Orleans and covering the Zurich event on the PGA Tour. I mean, I'm so blessed, Kathy. I've been to so many great places, the biggest events in the world, Ryder Cups, major championships in golf, and all of these things. And then, you know, my LPGA days as well, traveling globally. It's pretty cool.
It's an amazing career, and the global aspect of it too. I know your travel is amazing, and for those of you who are watching, you might have tuned in late. Here on Zoom into Books, we're talking with Kraig Kann about his book, Can You Get Our Attention? And we're also talking golf. He was he was with the Golf Channel when it started. And if you have questions for Kraig, you can type them in the Facebook comment section. We'll make sure to get to all your questions.
Yeah, I'll answer them as well when when we're all done. If people throw something up there, I'll create a response. That picture up there on the left, Brian Hewitt was a writer long time in Chicago, and for Golf Week magazine, just a guy I respect, a really good friend. And Mark Lai over there to the right, who played 18 years on the PGA Tour. The upper right-hand picture is a show called The Approach with Callaway Golf that we did. I had a couple of other guys, Alex Maselli and a PGA Tour professional named Andrew McGee. And it was kind of like ESPN's Around the Horn. That was a lot of fun to do. I mean, I hosted almost everything that there was at the Golf Channel. And then, you know, recently you've got that picture there of me hosting my podcast, Tracks to Success, which can be found on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or TuneIn or wherever you get your podcasts. And the whole goal with that is to bring inspiring people on to talk about their basically their inspiring story. You know, how did they get where they are? And it's been a wide cast of people, from country music stars like Colt Ford and Cole Swindell to, you know, TV personalities from various walks, and you know, speakers, entrepreneurs, you know, just, I mean, a lot of really big name people have been on it. And I've had a blast getting to know people with great backgrounds. I think it's fascinating to hear how they got where they are, and the different walks and the different paths that they've taken.
I think okay. Those are the photos that we have. Craig, what is your most memorable golf memory experience?
Oh boy, there's so many, Kathy. I mean, the first time I ever went to the Open Championship overseas to go to Royal Lytham in St. Anne's, and um, you know, I always remember that because that was my first overseas trip. I've been to Hawaii multiple times, but I'm gonna say that Arnold Palmer story is pretty big, but it might also be this opportunity. And that picture you showed, I was talking about New Orleans. We all remember Hurricane Katrina, and the First Lady, Laura Bush, was a former school teacher, and she and the president took a great interest in rebuilding that city and all the catastrophe that happened in New Orleans. And the First Lady came down there and spent a bunch of time in various parishes and did some exclusive interviews. And again, I was given this amazing opportunity as the host to be able to interview the First Lady. And so in advance of that interview, the White House called me. I remember being at my home, and they interviewed me to ask me all these questions for a background check. As I told Laura Bush that day, I felt like she and the White House knew more about me than I knew about me. But we had great conversations because, of course, they have twins and I have twins as well. And so we had that conversation in New Orleans in this room, which I'll always remember. And so that was in like May. And then it was but about 4 or 5 months later at the Golf Channel, I get this envelope with a seal from the White House. And it's an invitation to me and it said a significant other or a guest to go to the White House for a holiday reception and meet the president and the First Lady in person. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And at first I didn't even know how real it really was. And everybody was, I was like, I don't know if I can go to this. They're like, what do you mean you don't know if you can go to this? So, booked flights, and my wife and I went up there, and it was just amazing. I mean, I'm standing in line with Bob Schieffer and Wolf Blitzer and Chris Wallace. They were right in front of me, honest to goodness, walking through security to go into this reception. And I was blown away by it. Here I am, this guy at the Golf Channel. And I remember going up to Wolf Blitzer that night, and he was talking with Bob Schieffer. And I said, hey, man, I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Craig, and I work at the Golf Channel. And, I really enjoy watching your show, The Situation Room. Lo and behold, they turned it around on me and said, forget that stuff. Let's talk golf. Let's talk about that. They knew me from the Golf Channel. And I was like, okay, talk about a situation room. I didn't expect that at all. And I was just blown away. It said a lot to me about golf in general, about how it's kind of everybody's sport. And we used to talk about that a lot at the Golf Channel, about how it's not just the Golf Channel, it's golf's channel. And it's really for everybody. It's a game for life. It's a game with your family. It's, I don't know how many women would say that they've lost their husbands, not because they passed away, but because they spent time on the weekends every weekend playing golf, and it might be flipped around the other way as well, as many women are competing in the game and playing in the game. And I know during my time at the LPGA, there was such a big effort to grow the sport for women and for young girls. And I've got 2 girls, and couldn't be more proud of all those opportunities that everybody's been given. So that trip to the White House is just something that I'll never forget that. And then when I was with the LPGA, like when a professional sports team wins a championship, they get to go to the White House. And the United States Solheim Cup team, which is like the Ryder Cup for the men, the U.S. Solheim Cup team won, and they got to go to the White House when President Obama was in office. And as the chief communications officer, I got that opportunity as well to travel with them and make the introductions and whatnot. That was another one, just to have President Obama kind of walk through this room. We're all waiting there, and here he comes, and you're like, man, this is pretty cool. So there are memories interviewing people like Bob Hope and celebrities like Leslie Nielsen, pardon me, and Mike Ditka. And I mean, just so many great golf events that have celebrities or other people in them. It's awesome.
I think golf transcends any profession. I mean, you mentioned Mike Ditka, but we know Bob Hope played a lot of golf.
Oh yeah.
But people who are very famous in other sports they all seem to play golf.
They do. They
And
do. Yeah. Pitchers like Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine from the Atlanta Braves and John Smoltz always played in those celebrity events. But, you know, I mentioned Cole Swindell earlier, like country music stars, they're all into it. You know, Alice Cooper's big into golf. We all know Clint Eastwood's been big into golf. You can go all the way back to Jackie Gleason and, you know, all the names, Bing Crosby. I mean, it's just a part of the fabric, you know, and the truth of it is that in this book, I could have easily written a book on the Golf Channel or my career in golf. And that's really not what this is. It was one chapter, and I'm pretty sure it's the longest chapter in the book as well. But I have a chapter in there about the LPGA, and I did it, you know, chronologically on how everything happened and tried to weave in my personal story into that. But the book is really, as you know, about how we find a way to get people to take notice. You know, we can't wait for people to take notice. I'm a big believer that opportunities come to people who create opportunities for themselves through connecting, through communicating. There's a statistic that when it comes to our wealth or the way we make our money and how much we actually make in our careers, 85% of it is actually tied to our ability to communicate or speak and present. And only 15% of that is based upon our knowledge or what we went to school for, you know, the actual expertise that we have. But it's how we present ourselves, it's how we communicate as well. And Warren Buffett actually says that if you could have one skill above all that would double your wealth or increase it by 50%, it would be public speaking and communications. And so that's really my expertise. And I tried to take it from a lot of different perspectives, because to me, communication is not just about standing behind a podium and giving a speech. It's also about a company meeting or a staff meeting or a Zoom call like this, or an email is a public speaking opportunity. You know, and I don't think a lot of people think about sales calls being a public speaking opportunity, and how you need to think about what the audience might be expecting and how we can get the audience to not just pay attention to us, but actually walk out of the room and go share with other people the message that you delivered and tell people, wow, you should have been there. You know, to me, that's the big goal. A lot of people talk today. There are a lot of people who blah, 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 but very few people actually have something to say. And very few people have something to say that's worth remembering and repeating. And that's the goal, is to try to get people's attention and get people to go share your good news or build your brand for you.
Absolutely, that's true. You talked about your blog or podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted a link to Kraig's website, canadvisory.com.
Thanks.
Can you get your podcast there too?
So my podcast is not available yet through the website. So shame on me and shame on my website. But everybody pretty much today, it seems like they download their podcasts off Apple. You know, or they get it through Spotify, or they get it through TuneIn or Stitcher or wherever. But it's out there. And, you know, I just got this text the other day, or an alert from Buzzsprout, which is the platform that I used to launch it, about the number of downloads. And, you know, I'm really proud of it. I'm a little bit behind on my interviews for the next season, but I've done 2 seasons, and, you know, it's just really fun to be able to call people, or then have people call you and go, hey, I'd really like to be on your podcast. You know, I mean, I had the CEO of Taco Bell, Mark King, on, who used to be with Adidas and TaylorMade and some big companies. I had Coach Dan Mullen on from the Florida Gators, the football coach. I've had Stephanie Abrams from the Weather Channel on. And so it's really fun to talk to people like that and try to pick their brain and figure out where they found themselves, I guess, and where their career started and how it got to where it is today.
I know in your book you do talk about mentors
Mm-hmm.
and influencers in your life. I I think that's so important for people and people that you admire in the industry. I know one of the people that I think was a great PR person was Dave Thomas from Wendy's.
Wendy's, yeah.
Anybody that can reinvent a hamburger every month. And I'm serious, he talked
Yeah.
about it like we'd never heard, and
Yeah.
that's what you need. And that's what you can get from Kraig's book. He gives you the skills, the keys on how to put yourself together for your presentations. And it's really a handbook of excellent advice. Do you have an event schedule yet for this year?
Well, here's the good news. Things are starting to get back to normal, and I'm pretty excited about some upcoming things with some clients. Some things that were maybe postponed from the pandemic are starting to come back, and some companies that I've been working with over the last few months. I've been approached by some people about some upcoming events all the way into January, which is a pretty cool thing, and I'm excited about that. It's just going to be really good. It's nice to see your calendar start to fill up, and it's nice to see people when they do call you go, hey, and about that book, or if you can see it behind me, I don't have the light on it, but the green shoe that's behind me, which is a part of the book as well, which is a part of the workshop that I do for corporations, and one person gets to walk away with that green shoe, and it's all about standing out. It's all about opportunity. So yeah, things are starting to turn a little bit, and it was, you brought it up earlier, and I'll talk about it. I mean, because I think you tied it right into the right context. It wasn't but a few years back that everything was great, and then all of a sudden in March of last year, everything just shut down. And at the time, I had 8 or 9 talks scheduled for the next couple of months. I was really excited about things, and then boom, everybody shut things off. And they didn't just shut it off. I just don't think they had an answer as to when it might ever come back. And many people are still guarded. They're still not, really open to having full events, and they're doing virtual. And the thing about that's interesting is that I don't know that we're ever going to fully go back to the way it once was. I still think virtual now is going to be a part of things moving forward. I think companies have realized that not everybody has to be in an office. And so if they're siloed, or if they're, at their house or whatever, we can still meet. We can still have somebody speak to them. And I think that's really cool, to be honest. I think it gives us a chance. And I've coached a lot of people in the last 6 months to use this little camera that's right here on how to own it, how to make people fall in love with your presentation through a small camera when you can't really see who your audience is. And so I think everybody's got to try to find a way to adapt. And that's part of what this book is about, is building your brand and finding a way to stand out, not just with your story or your company or your brand, but you. And how are you going to do that? And how can you say, all right, I might not be able to be in person at this event, or speaking to somebody, or one-on-one sales call, or whatever it might be, but I've got this. So I've got to figure out a way to raise the value for myself and raise the value for my company through this small little lens, and trust that I can present the best of me and the best of my organization in a different way than I could before. And I think that's a great challenge. A lot of people don't think about what the background is behind them, or how they present themselves in front of this little camera, or what their audio sounds like with their microphone, or how their lighting is. All these things are important, and companies are starting to find out about that. And what I talk to them about is using this camera, using this virtual world that we're in, and I think you've done it well, as a company advantage, or a differentiator, or a way to separate yourself, because some people are just going to do it because they have to do it. There's another way to approach it, and that's a way to say, we're going to make this thing our company's advantage. And that's all about finding a way to do things differently. And as I like to say, setting the curve, not following the curve.
You're exactly right. And now that in-person events are starting, I know that Headline Books will, and I'm sure you will, and a lot of businesses, we're going to incorporate the virtual at the in-person. Absolutely. We're going to be doing Zoom into Books from the booth at major events, the American Library Association conference, wherever we are, because you can reach so many more people. And after this year, people are used to doing everything virtually.
Yeah.
So it's an excellent marketing tool, and Craig's book is right on with marketing suggestions, ideas, and you can contact Craig through his um, website.
Mm-hmm.
You can also contact him through Headline Books. You can get autographed books through canadvisory.com. You can get autographed books through headlinebooks.com. And the book is available on Amazon and other online stores. So our time is winding down. Who's going to win the Masters?
So it sounds like you almost listened to my radio show last night. So I put 4 names out there. I put Jon Rahm out there. He's a new dad, just had a baby last week, his first child. He's a super talented player, top 5 in the world. I now call him Father John since he's now a new dad. For some reason, Sergio Garcia was on my mind. I don't think he had the best of days today. Paul Casey is an Englishman that I think is a super talented player, doesn't get enough credit. So those are 3 of the names that came to my mind, but my ultimate pick was Webb Simpson, who's a guy who lives in the Southeast and has already won a major championship, a super talented player. And I picked him to win a few other majors as well. He's already got a US Open, but something just tells me it's going to happen at some point and he'll slip on a green jacket. Maybe it'll be this week. So, and by the way, on the comment that you made about all those, in-person, book signings and the big conferences and get-togethers with all the authors, I'm so looking forward to that. The first day I get to get on a plane and come hang out and sign books and sell books and meet other people and find out what their stories are. I'm really looking forward to that. So you'll probably be, upset that you ever offered me the opportunity in the first place, because I'll be there a couple of times. And ultimately my goal is to find a way to be walking through an airport and see this thing sitting there on a shelf at one of those places. Then I'll know that I've really done something. So I'm excited about all of it. To the people out there, you can email me direct. It'll end up getting to me through my company, info@kannadvisory.com, KANN advisory.com. So 2 N's. And they can get me on Twitter at Kraig Kann with 2 K's. Same thing on Instagram as well. And they can find me on the website, kannadvisory.com. So I've got Facebook pages. I've got a lot of stuff. But it's all been fun to have people connect and call me about the book and say, I did this or I did that. And I always ask them, write a review on Amazon. And if you don't give me the 5 stars, tell me why. Because if I'm going to do a second book, I want it to be better than the first.
Absolutely. And Kraig will be with us in Charlotte, North Carolina in November at the Southern Christmas Show. So if you live in the Charlotte area or you will be passing through, that schedule will be on the headlinebooks.com under events, and we'll have the whole author schedule there. And then hopefully 2022, we'll get to do a lot more things.
That would be great. I'm looking forward to the rest of this year. Boy, you talk about the Christmas show. I feel like I just pulled the tree down. But I've got my second COVID shot, so I've made it through that. It's been a tough couple of days the past few days. So I'm probably like everybody else after you get the second one, but feeling good now and ready to get going and looking forward to seeing everybody in person.
So are we. I want to thank everyone for joining us on Facebook. If you came in late, you can watch the entire event on the Headline Books Facebook page, the Zoom into Books Facebook page, and it will be on the Zoom into Books YouTube channel in the coming weeks. So thank you so much, Kraig, and we'll see how your picks go for the Masters.
Yeah, Picking a winner at the Masters is like me trying to hit the deadline you gave me for my book. It's probably not going to work out exactly like we planned, but we'll see. And the best part of it is sitting there watching it. So, you have a great week. I can't thank you enough again for everything you've done to help me. I'm going to need a new order. I need another box of books. So we're going to have to talk about that because some people have been buying them off my website and I'm signing away and sending them off to people. But I just appreciate everything you've done for me. So thank you so much. And to any of the other authors that might be watching this, you inspired me as well. So I feel like I have a little catching up to do. So it's fun to be a part of the family.
Thank you so much. We're so happy that you are part of the Headline family.
Thank you.
So we will see you again on Zoom into Books in a few weeks, and please watch the schedule. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. Good night.
Bye-bye.